Engineer is a rare tower. She is one of the most expensive towers in the game, costing 4,500 gems. For this price, you would expect a meta tower, right? Wrong. Very wrong actually. She is currently so not meta that she isn't even included in the recommended DPS and strategies. So, why is it the case? Well, let's first look at her stats. From here, we can instantly see that she is supposed to be a mid to late game DPS tower, with having a well above average cost at 6 levels. Her best DPS is actually horrendous, so how does she get DPS? Sentries. She can spawn from 1 to 4 sentries, with each one having less DPS than Engineer herself, but combining all of them as well as Engineer, the DPS is actually really good. Her range is also respectable, as well as having a really good mid-game capabilities, as well as all detection in the game, even though only Engineer and not Sentries can detect errand with, which kinda screws her over sometimes. Speaking of mid-game, she can also work in early game due to having $600 placement cost. Also, tower specialists that are generally better, so I wouldn't request this aspect of hers. What we can see so far is that she's supposed to be a jack of all trades. She can do every part of the game at least at a decent level. The max level centers even have some critical control potential with occasional explosives, so don't rely on that much. So why does nobody in meta scene use her? First of all, she relies on centers to do most of the DPS. This is bad because not only do sentries not have a little flight attention as I said earlier, hard to hit jack of all trades status, but most importantly, they cannot be bought by supports like DJ or Commander. The severely hard and max DPS combined to all the towers as well. Normally, she has a generally better DPS compared to all the DPS tower. Thing quickly goes south when you include support that can only buff Engineer and not sentries. And don't even get me started on how placing and replacing sentries take quite a bit of time. The sentries can also get destroyed if two stuns happen in a short lifespan, with first destroying the shield of the sentries, and second destroying the sentry themselves, setting Engineer back to square one. And if this wasn't enough, she is also bad for reacting so weak that you need time to build sentries, and to achieve better results with her, you have to put her close to the enemy spawn, and otherwise, her sentries may just despawn due to bad scrap wall due to Engineer not damaging enemies, due to them being out of range. The early and mid game are also not the greatest, and other towers such as Rocket Zero, Gold and Crook Boss are able to outperform him most of the time, due to just being better suited for that. And for a nail in the coffin, the 6 placement even makes her combined DPS actually worse than most of her competitors, sometimes even excluding support. Just a quick reminder to check the possibility of liking and subscribing. Thank you. So yeah, Engineer's just in a practical tower. She's extremely consistent with the sensors and that's DPS. That is also bottlenecked. Even the best case scenario, also towers still reign triumph with better combined DPS, and even somewhat DPS with support. Her jack of all trades also does not really work, due to all the towers that perform at early and mid game, meaning she's eliminated from the niche as well. So that brings the question, why use her if you could use others? And this is the definition of a potential man. I mean a woman in this case. However, it wasn't always with that. Engineer is well known for being either very meta or not meta at all. This depends on how good she and her competition are. If she gets buffed, she lucky finds a place in the meta. Same story for other DPS towers getting nerfed. It also works the other way. She gets nerfed or competition gets buffed, then she is lucky out of the meta for good. And this is what she experiences right now. So, is there anything developers can do to help her out? Oh, well, the answer is just buff her. That's the most obvious solution. However, I have my proposed buff for Engineers that may make her meta once and for all. So, what if we massively bar her DPS, but reduce her central mode to 3, or even 2, and then make central support some control effect like freeze or poison on enemies? You could change the effect that central still like you can choose with the merc base units. This would be really cool in my opinion, having a DPS tower with support included. And it would also validate the Engineers a jack of all trades with this silly buff. But until then, Engineer will remain as an impractical tower that is objectively versus her competition. But that was a theory. A DDS theory. Or was it?